It's streaming. Let me pop up. Alright, guys. Let's talk about this for a little while. Alright? The end is here. We're at the end of the world. The globalists have taken over, if you're a conspiracy theorist. I currently have a fever of 100, which isn't the highest of fevers I know. It's not like a 1 or 2 or 1 or 3. I've been sick for the last 4 days. I don't know if I have the coronavirus. I suspect I have the coronavirus, but I don't know. I don't want to be, conspiracy theorist. But I've had to call off work for the last few days. I have a cough. I have a sore throat. I have a runny nose. I'm tired. And starting today, I have a fever. I did not have a fever. I think I might just have a flu. No, I'm not kidding you. I have all of these things. And I had to call off work. I've pretty much been laying in bed for the last 3 days. Sorry. But I thought, fuck it. Why not live stream? What's it like? Michael Jordan played a basketball game in the finals when he had a fever. Why can't I do a live stream while I have a fever? And runny nose, not a symptom. I disagree, Yellow, because I keep hearing different shit about what's a symptom. I don't think anybody knows. I've read it is a symptom. I've read it isn't a symptom. I don't know anymore. I don't know what the truth is. Alright? Nobody does. Everyone says something different. MSNBC says this, CNN says this, the government says this. Of course I've seen Contagion. Nobody knows anything. I've read that all of the symptoms of a cold with a fever could fall into that. I don't have a strong fever, but I have a fever. I've had a cough for a few days. I've quarantined myself in my own home, like a responsible adult. So, the world's ending. They've canceled everything. Cancel culture's taken over now. They canceled the NBA. Disneyland is gone. Bye-bye, Disneyland. Every concert's been canceled. I had a friend who was going to go to an Eagles concert on Tuesday, and it's gone. I called the hospital today and said, should I get checked for the coronavirus? Can I have a test? And they told me to stay home. I called them and I was like, hey, I have all these symptoms. Should I come in and get tested to make sure? And they said, no, just stay home. It's better if you stay home. I was like, really? Doesn't it make sense for me to, come get tested in case, if I have it, I should stay in? But I guess not. They told me not to come in. Can you believe that? So I'm like, alright, well, I guess I don't think I'm gonna die. I'm only 29 years old and I'm a pretty healthy person, but, yeah. So, we're gonna talk about everything going on. How it's... Well, I've been sick for about 4 days. Pat, if you are sick, I just want you to know that you've made my life better for the last 2 years. And I will always love you. I'm not dying. I probably just have a flu. I doubt that it's really that bad. I think I just have like a flu. Or a bad cold, I don't know. I wasn't scared until I got the fever. That made me pretty fucking scared. But yeah, okay, so you can't say China has bad health code because that's racist. The economy is at an absolute awful place. Everything's low. The Democrats are taking this as a way to attack Trump. It's weird that this is all happening during an election year. Does anyone else find the Tom Hanks thing weird? We do know that Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson have direct ties to the Obamas. They even traveled on a cruise ship with them. I I have all the symptoms of it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I have coronavirus. I'm just saying I have all the symptoms. Coincidentally, while all this is going on. I also live in Ohio, and they just announced that they're shutting down schools in Ohio. Game of Thrones Season 8 still sucks. That's a weird thing, right? Tom Hanks was friends with Epstein as well. It's all very odd, isn't it? You know, if it had been a random celebrity like Jennifer Lawrence or something, I'd have been like, okay, but it was weird who specifically it was. That it was Tom Hanks. It's like, huh. Almost to get this mass hysteria going. I mean, from what I know, and anyone can correct me in the chat because I'm a fucking idiot. All I've read across the board is that pretty much this is like having a cold or a flu, and if you don't have an immune disease or if you're not elderly, the chances of dying are very low. So I don't know. So it is weird. Why is everyone panicking so much over getting like a cold? I mean, they're canceling everything. Every fucking concert, every sporting event, everything's being canceled. So because people don't want to get a cold or like a flu. And the mortality rate is low. I mean, this is the reason I'm doing this. Can somebody help me figure out the fucking facts? Like, I really don't... Wow, you're so fucking wrong, dude. This is an unknown virus. Well, I'm asking. I'm not arguing, I'm asking you. You're saying it's an unknown virus, but are people dying? Like, what are the death tolls? I keep seeing different numbers. I'm not arguing with you. I said I don't know. They say the mortality rate's like at 2%. You know? Like, I don't know. Old and sick people are dying. I mean, are young people dying? Because I'm not obese, and I don't have heart disease, and I don't have any kind of lung disease. And I'm a pretty healthy person, but I don't know. 2% is a lot. Well, 2% out of what, though? What's the number? I mean, 2% out of 7 billion people? This comment section is ignorant. Viruses evolve fast. It can affect people young. If you're young and healthy, then yes, you're likely fine. It's just that we have no vaccine or natural immunity to it. Well, I'm aware of that. Pixar's Onward has the worst opening weekend for a Pixar film. I don't see how that's relevant right now. Everything's going to be affected. Because they're pushing back James Bond and all these other fucking movies for later in the year. I mean, how bad is the economy going to suffer from this, guys? I mean, I took this pretty seriously a little while ago. I took this seriously like a couple months ago, but I didn't expect this. Like, I would say in like the last 48 hours, everything's gotten crazy. So I'm hoping here in this live stream we can get some people to join in. I want this live stream to get a lot of people in it so we can fucking talk about this and figure this the fuck out. Okay, how much of this is being overhyped by the media? Which we have to contribute that into this because we can't act like the media knows any more than someone else. How much is actually like known scientifically? How much of this is a reactionary thing? How much is it to blame the election? I mean, all these things happening right now. It's just very odd. We're in an election year. We're in a very heated moment. We're getting different information from different sources. And how serious is the coronavirus? How many people do we think are actually going to die? I mean, I don't know. People are dying from this, yet Jamie and Brienne survive getting swarmed by zombies. Theaters are closed here in Norway. Everyone remembers SARS, yeah? Everything turned out that everyone needs to shut the fuck up, stop panicking, put the thinking caps on, and calm the hell down. Important fact, CDC says virus dies on surfaces quick, so be careful buying packages even though it's a low risk. Taiwan and South Korea got a handle on this because they immediately limited travel and quarantined people. China underreported their dead numbers. Yep, all ages. Where's the information on this? I keep hearing different shit. That's why I'm confused. Some people are telling me China lied about everything, and then other people are telling me that it's like a flu. I don't fucking know. Who's telling the truth? Like, everyone keeps saying, you all are saying different shit in the comment section. I don't understand what's going on. I've never seen so much confusion. I mean, it literally feels like the world is ending. Okay, let's see. Want to know one major reason why South Korea had a stellar rapid response and quickly produced and scaled up to 10K tests a day? They have a single-payer Medicare for all system. We don't. Please remember why it's so important for us to fight healthcare as a human right. So, of course, they're using this to push a political agenda. Elizabeth Warren. You know, she was on Saturday Night Live. I am deeply concerned about the threat that the coronavirus poses. Trump's stumbling response is putting American lives and economy at greater risk. I offered a plan 10 days ago, and today I updated it based on the latest data and expert recommendations. My update plan to address the coronavirus crisis. Well, okay, there we go. Bernie says that he thinks the number of casualties may actually be even higher than what the armed forces experienced in World War II. So what were the numbers in World War II? Is it like 60 million? How many people died in World War II? Has anything like this ever happened before? Not in my lifetime, no. In my lifetime, they've never shut down all the sporting events and theme parks and concerts and all of this, while the economy is also crashing, while there's also a political... This is never... I mean, there's been scares. I remember the swine flu, and I remember there was the West Nile virus or whatever that was supposed to kill everybody. I mean, in my lifetime, there's been stuff happening. But nothing like this has ever happened since I've been alive. I don't know everything before that. I mean, there's definitely been plagues and things that have killed people around the world, before this. But I've been alive for about 30 years, and I can't remember anything like this. 400,000 Americans. 400,000 Americans are infected? Pat, you should really get some rest. All of us don't really know anything. I've been getting rest for the last few days. I've been laying in bed since Monday. I'm sick of laying in bed. It's not making me feel any better. I've been taking medicine, if that makes you feel better. I've been taking a lot of medicine. I've been taking cold and flu medicine. I've been trying to sleep a lot. Oh, 400 dead Americans in World War II. Was he speaking specifically about Americans or all people during World War II? I thought the numbers were much higher than that. Or was Bernie just referring to Americans in general? This virus hasn't even killed 5,000 people worldwide, and it's been around for months now. Is that true that it hasn't even killed 5,000? That's what I've read. I've watched a lot of videos and looked up stuff, and they all say different shit. I had a dry cough for about 4 days, and it kind of went away today. Like I said, I've been sick since Monday. I got sick Monday morning. I'm not saying I have the coronavirus. Like, don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not saying I have the coronavirus. I'm just saying I'm sick during the time of the coronavirus, and I got a little paranoid today and called the hospital. I was coughing for Monday to yesterday, and this morning I wake up and cough in the morning. I've been pretty much sick. Today was the first day I got a fever, though. Every day before this, I didn't have a fever. My temperature was like at 90, 98 or something like that. Today it was at 100. I don't think I have the virus, but I had a lot of the symptoms. Either coincidentally I got sick this week when everything... I mean, it is cold and flu season. Like, don't you know, misconstrue that. You know, it is... I could just have a cold or a flu. But I am a little paranoid, I'm not gonna lie. Because I had most of the symptoms. I had a cough all week. I had a runny nose. I was very weak. I don't know how... I mean, I don't know how much of that's symptoms. And today I had a fever, which really scared me. I think the fever might have went down a little bit. I haven't checked my temperature in the last couple hours. Greetings from Greece. Thank you for being on here. Can the coronavirus be the new Black Plague? Well, that's the question now, isn't it? Is this going to blow over in a couple months, or is it going to keep getting worse? It was hard to breathe, but that can also happen when you have a cold or when you have a bad indigestion from a cold. You can sorry. you you can have a hard time breathing. I'm in Ohio. If you're wondering. This is like 28 days later right now. It's fucked up as I have Corona in my fridge. I have a whole case of Corona in there. I'm really worried that had something to do with this. I mean, Spanish flu, that's right. Okay, James Woods. Let's check Twitter. See if we got some updates. Italy goes full surveillance state over the coronavirus. Bernie Sanders, when we say it's time to provide health care for all people, we're told we can't afford it. But if the stock market is in trouble, no problem. The government can just hand out $1.5 trillion to calm bankers on Wall Street. Donald's slow testing of how do you say that abbreviation? COVID? I'm going to say COVID-19 to keep the numbers low and help his re-election chances. That directly led to this chaos. How does this not immediately end his presidency? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Patton Oswalt, because I know you're an expert on everything. From what I know, though, during times of panic, when people are scared, they typically re-elect a president because they like the familiarity of what's already going on instead of trying something new. But I could be wrong. In the case of Alex Azar, he did go to the president in January. He did push past resistance from the president's political aides to warn the president the new coronavirus could be a major problem. There were aides around Trump. Kellyanne Conway had some skepticism at times that this was something that needed to be a presidential priority. But at the same time, Secretary Azar has not always given the president the worst-case scenario of what could happen. My understanding is that President Trump did not push to do aggressive, additional testing in recent weeks, and that's partly because more testing might have led to more cases being discovered of coronavirus outbreak. And the president had made clear the lower numbers on coronavirus, the better for the president, the better for the potential re-election this fall. What's the source of this? There's so much coming out right now. I mean, this is like a feeding frenzy for conspiracy theorists. Like, if you're a conspiracy theorist, this is everything you've ever wanted. Did the government, are they behind this? The celebrities are behind. I mean, this is everything a conspiracy theorist has ever wanted to happen. And if you're liberal and you hate Trump, this is everything that you could have wanted to happen. I mean, basically, it's weird that everyone's politicizing this, and I guess it's inherently political because it's something that affects all of us. CNN smears Bernie Sanders 14 times a day, but they suddenly realize he's right about Medicare for all during a pandemic. As I'm saying, everyone's making this... I mean, this is a major political moment in this country. Like, I mean, that's all this is. Everyone's making this political. Nobody's talking about... You know, everyone's telling you to wash your hands and doing the fucking happy birthday 2 times in a row. But nobody's really talking about the virus. Everyone's using it as a political moment, which I get. I get this is political, but... I'm sorry I'm coughing into the microphone. That's very annoying. Oh yeah, and iDubbbz's girlfriend. I mean, this is even bigger news. Is that iDubbbz's girlfriend is you know, posting naked photos if you buy them like your fan. What the hell, Ian? What's with you, man? Catholic Church in Rome cancels all masses, announces day of fasting and prayer. Their God is weaker than your immune system. We're investigating an issue preventing users from being able to log in. We'll keep you updated. Okay, Twitch, I don't really give a fuck about that right now. There's no other country I'd rather be in right now than the United States of America under the leadership of the best president ever. Ever wonder it'd be like if the net existed in the Great Depression or the Spanish flu? You might get to find out. Oh my god. Okay, well, let's see what secular talk. See, these are different political opinions. I'm not right-wing or left-wing. It's different people I'm looking at. This is how they talk about government bailouts of Wall Street. Compare this to what they say about healthcare and college. Remember, everyone calling it the Wuhan virus is xenophobic. Yeah, that became a whole thing that it's I even saw that on a lot of the stuff I watched. What? And then Hillary Clinton's documentary coming out during all of this as well. I mean, the timing of all of this shit could not be more perfect. I mean, it's all over the place. Doctors noticed in December 19 that there was a pneumonia flu going around, tried to warn other docs, got shut down. It is very contagious. It passes from the liquid from sneezing and coughing. Definitely contagious. I know, isn't it weird how that movie Contagion now is just way more relevant than it ever was? Like, holy shit. Oh, I would love to wear the Bane mask right now. Now's not the time for fear, that comes later. Being on school today was creepy. Everyone just walked to be told to go home. What if drinking Corona cures the coronavirus? That's the secret. Over 1 million people went to China for Chinese New Year, traveled, left China. It got out. I'd love to think like, it got out! Run! It's out, it's free! Get out of here! Just don't ask strangers to puke into your mouth. Well, then what else am I supposed to do on a Friday night? Steven Spielberg and Scott Burns was aiming for... Oh, Steven Soderbergh. I don't know why I said Steven Spielberg. I'm sorry, I'm a little odd, but for authenticity and contagion, they based the movie after the Nipah virus? Yeah, I just, you know, I'm a big Steven Soderbergh fan in general. I've loved the guy for, you know, ever, so... Of course, that movie was... Is this the downfall of globalism? It might be the increase of globalism. I don't know. It's where's this going to go? Are people who are pro-globalism going to use this as a way to announce it? Or is this a way to say that maybe we should do less trading with China and have less of a global world? Because if one virus breaks out, it affects the whole world now. Because these things aren't contained. But I do like how they've made this a race thing. Like Trump called it a foreign virus. Or people said, like, they were like, yeah, this came from China because of their eating habits or because they're poor with health code. The East in general is sort of bad with this if you ever travel to the East, but then they're like, oh, it's racist to say that. And then they're like, we Americans, I keep saying this on every video. It's like, don't be racist. It's like, what does fucking race have to do with this? Why are we making that political? Why are we making this about race? And I know people are going to want to point fingers. Yeah, but what does nationalism have to do with this, though? Like, if you're not pro-nationalism, that's cool, but what does that have to do with this right now either? I don't get this. Like, what is... People just want to... I mean, is it racism or is it just human nature? You know, you want to blame somebody, so you blame the government, you blame God, you blame another country, you know? I mean, people just naturally go to that in a time of crisis. Everybody's always looking for somebody to point the finger at, you know? Instead of just being like, you know, clearly some virus got out and people are getting sick and we're panicking about it and everybody hates each other. Everybody's real self is coming out right now, man. Everybody's coming out right now. Like, people who are fucking... who hate liberals, people who hate conservatives, people who hate nationalism, people who hate globalism. This is like the ultimate time for the introvert internet nerd, you know, the guy who just wants to stay inside and be on his computer all day. Man, I hurt my lower back today. I hurt my lower back today coughing. I was coughing today, and my lower back popped during a coughing spell. That's the point that I'm at. Like, my lower back's sore because something popped and I was coughing. What the fuck? I mean, I may be young, guys, but Jesus Christ. I'm falling apart here. No, I have not seen Color Out of Space. I did see Cordry talk about it on his channel. People who keep talking about racism instead of the virus are real smooth brains. Yeah, of course it's human nature. At the end of the day, it's another virus that came out at random and could have come from anywhere. It's just bad luck wherever it started. That's the thing. A lot of this is just bad timing that this is happening right now. No, I'm probably not going to watch Deadshot. I like that I'm sick and I'm trying to talk to you guys about what's going on in the world and how things are ending, and you want to talk to me about movies. You guys have not changed one bit, I swear to God. I love you guys. You are the same bastards you always were. Nothing has changed. I guess we're gonna go down in the apocalypse together. If you like coronavirus and getting sick all day, if you're not into China, well, that's okay. If you like going to NBA games, well, you can't anymore. Come and quarantine with me. We can stay indoors. Once you get sick, you get a high chat count. Nationalism, my country matters, and it is superior. Everyone else sucks dicks. What if your country is superior, though, and the other countries suck dick, though? Like, let's say theoretically there was a country that was superior to every other country. I'm not saying that there is a country that's superior to every other country, mind you. But let's say there is one. Would they have validity in that thinking if it was true? In China now, everyone is registered to a QR code. You get scanned. All your info... Oils up? I'm not reading. It has a color code red, green, yellow if you can travel around. It's not known if it is leaked from a facility from the fish market. Yeah, where did it come from, man? I heard it came... I was hearing shit about it coming from a bat, but all that's untrue. Like, it was like Batman. First Kobe, now this. Maybe it's connected somehow. What is this, the Tom Cruise speech from the Oscars? Well, what does it matter, movies and all that? Can we talk about this? Dare I say it? More than ever. This should be the time when everyone should come together, get through the... Yeah, I thought we'd be uniting right now, but this just shows how divided we are. This just shows how narcissistic we are. We have one planet, though, and finite resources. History has shown world power are greedy, not rational, or being of use to others. One planet. Yeah, but if the planet united on a globalist scale like Star Trek, right? Like if it was a socialist utopia, wouldn't that same problem be there? Wouldn't it be greedy? Like if it was one world, people would still be in power. It's not like every country, every continent, everybody would unite and agree to be like everybody's equal. Like that's impossible too. Somebody would have to be in charge. There would always have to be some kind of political leader or some kind of person people follow. I mean, unless everybody was an individual, but I don't think there's some people that are intelligent enough to lead themselves. I think they need a leader. I'd say most people are like children. They've just passed the age of what we consider them to be children. So, are you saying this is a world where there's no leadership? Like, how do we rank who's up here and who's down here? It's not a United States thing, just everybody thing. None of this would have happened if Bran wasn't elected king. That's a good point, Alex. Powerful nations bad, one world government good. Good. The World Health Organization refused to call it a pandemic while it was raging in China. Hey, were you at that rager in China, bro? Oh yeah, the Corona Festival. It was fantastic. After the cruise ship debacles, once infected, they quarantined them off of Japan, and they got a lot of the ships sick. Yeah, I had to cancel a trip. I was going to travel down south to see my mother and help her offload a house for my grandfather, but she called me on the phone and she's like, everything's crazy down there and I'm up here, so it just doesn't seem safe to travel right now. In the last 48 hours at least, everything seems to be crazy. If the coronavirus leads to another financial crisis, it might start in Italy. Guys, I think it started already. Thank you, Michael Ian Black. What a genius. Yeah, bro, weed is like my main source of creativity, honestly. Creates literally nothing ever. 5'4" and below girls tweeting about how they want a 6-foot+ man. Opinion, it would have been better if Trump hadn't spoken at all? Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Them that dies will be the lucky one. Basketball was only one of my was one of my only escapes from politics. If this disease was only affecting poor people or black people, we would have never heard about it, and or everything would be business as usual. What a hot take that is. The stock market has suffered a relentless, breathtaking drop, moving deeper into bear territory amid the coronavirus pandemic. Here's what you should know about bear markets. I didn't know bears were in the stock market. They're still going to hold WrestleMania despite the coronavirus. Thank God for Vince McMahon. Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban joins ABC News Live at 7 p.m. after the NBA suspends its season due to the novel coronavirus outbreak. Where we can support these vendors, where I can give them extra work, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're all in the Shark Tank now, aren't we? How I dress when going out for an oil change. Hair up, engineering t-shirt, no makeup, tennis shoes. I still remember my aunt telling me to dress down so they don't overcharge. Girl problems. Wow, that must be so tough for you. You know, they just usually charge the same price for an oil change depending on where you go. Like, I go to Valvoline and it's the standard price to get your oil changed. And I don't know how to tell you this, but even with wearing no makeup and dressed down, you're still very, very, very attractive, which is, I guess, what you were implying, is that you're too hot as a chick for them to not overcharge you for oil. But how about you just find out what the prices are, tell the guy, hey, I'm paying this, not a dime more, and if you charge me more than that, I'm going to go somewhere else. Instead of making a post where, honestly, you look very attractive still, you have a very good looking face, and you're saying that I put on tennis shoes and a hand tell me to dress down, they don't overcharge. What the fuck? Just haggle with the guy. Well, I got her a plane ticket. She's going to spend several hours at Heathrow, which means I'm going to get 1,000 giant Toblerone bars on the credit card, but fingers crossed the kid is coming home. I know this is all hard for you. at real Donald Trump. So let me spell it out. For Miss Hillary Clinton, free testing, free waivers, emergency sick leave, quarantines, cancellations, giving a damn. Just give a damn. Total embarrassment that Pelosi refuses to stay in D.C. and work with the GOP Senate to pass a bipartisan coronavirus compromise bill, all because she doesn't want to cancel recess. Bernie, you've lost the election. What the fuck are you even talking about? Oh, fucking Grandpa Joe Biden is beating you. Isn't it weird that the Democrats are like the base of the young, but they keep voting in these like old motherfuckers? Like, what happened to Obama and these guys in their 40s? Why are all of the candidates old men? Can we get somebody who's like 50? I mean, I'd be crying for like a 50-year-old right now. Why is everyone like fucking 80 years old? Trump's old as fuck too. Why is everyone so old? These strong female characters were so strong they killed off 3 decades old sci-fi franchises with enormous loyal long-term fan bases in just a few. I know, what the fuck happened, man? Like, there's nothing wrong with having a strong woman as a lead character in any of the... I don't have an issue with that at all, but why was the writing so shitty in the new Star Wars and the new Star Trek shows? Why were these hacks behind these? Like, you couldn't pick a bigger hack than the Kurtzman team and the J.J. Abrams crowd, like those people to work on this stuff. Like, what a fucking horrible idea. Hey, remember that show Felicity? That guy should run Star Wars. Tokyo Olympics possibly canned. I'm assuming they're going to be canned. Kobe Bryant and his daughter die. World War III fear. Yeah, what happened to the World War III thing? Tom Hanks tested for the virus. E3 canceled. Australia is on fire. NBA cancels season. 3 months, and this year is already a giant pile of shit. That's what I'm telling you guys. This is like the end of the fucking world. If there was ever a sign of the apocalypse happening, it's right now. Everything's happening right now. We've had like 10 9/11s happen, you know, in like a week. Parasite won Best Picture, a foreign film won Best Picture. I mean, it's about to literally start raining frogs like the end of Magnolia. We're at that point. Things are about to get fucking crazy. I mean, nothing would shock me right now. Nothing. Nothing. How are the fans the biggest issue with Star Wars? Please explain that to me. There was tons of scripting issues and no planning with Force Awakens. People were generally very positive to Rogue One. Then Last Jedi came out, which also had scripting issues directly relating to being a sequel. Rise of the Skywalker's a mess across the board, and then generally people seem to love The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda's a cultural phenomenon, and people didn't want a Han Solo movie. I don't know how the fans are the issue with any of those things. It seems like, for the most part, the fans were pretty positive towards Force Awakens, Rogue One, and The Mandalorian, and all of those made money and did well. Well, I'm just confused. People always blame the fans. It's like, there's like 1 billion Star Wars fans. What fans are we talking about? Everybody likes Star Wars. I don't know anyone who doesn't like Star Wars. That's like Harry Potter fans. There's just a shitload of them. I recently saw Magnolia, great film. I love Magnolia, but goddamn, that is a weird movie. Julianne Moore's performance is so over the top, especially when she's in the pharmacy. And the movie's like 30 minutes too long. It's the most cocaine movie I've ever seen. That movie should just be called Cocainea. Don't you call me lady. Star Wars isn't special anymore. There's more stuff to consume. Well, I agree with that, Mark. Well, I don't think Star Wars was ever that special. I mean, people don't want to... New Hope and Empire Strikes Back were just great fucking movies. Like, go watch Empire Strikes Back right now. It's still a great fucking movie, even with the time. Like, it's just a good movie. Well made. Well written, well acted. That's all it was. People always kind of overhyped Star Wars a little bit. They turned it into something it wasn't. It was just a couple of good movies, a half-decent movie in Return of the Jedi, and then everyone acted like it was fucking everything. And then of course you're going to continue to be disappointed because it's really hard to make a good movie. So yeah, not every Star Wars movie is going to be good. There's going to be bad movies and there's going to be good movies, and unfortunately statistically there's been more bad movies. Yeah, there's good video games too. I'm not acting like they didn't make. I mean, KOTOR's a great game, you know. I think the Star Wars universe itself is cool. But yeah, there's just, of course there's going to be shit in there. I mean, think about a lot of movies that were great movies. If they would have made a bunch of them, how good they would have been. You know what I mean? Like, there's really only 2 good Indiana Jones movies that are really good. You know, you could have just stopped at Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, if a lot of movies, if they would have just kept making movies of them over years go on, you're eventually going to have bad ones. I think more of his version of Pulp. I think Boogie Nights has more in common with Pulp Fiction. I mean, I agree what you're saying. It's very Pulp Fiction, the LA thing over days. But I think Boogie Nights, even though that's his like Goodfellas, Scorsese homage, I think in terms of his career, uh, Pulp Fiction, Boogie Nights is more of his Pulp Fiction. You know, where like Hard Eight's his Reservoir Dogs. So I think of Magnolia, I see more of a Robert Altman influence. I think more of like Nashville, or a film like what's that fucking film Robert Altman made in the early 90s? It's 3 hours long. I can't remember the name of it. The guy goes fishing and they find the dead girl's body, and great movie though. I also think I know some of his influences were like Ordinary People and Network, and I see a lot of Network and Ordinary People in Magnolia. But to be fair, Magnolia also does kind of end on a tale of redemption, which is how Pulp Fiction ends. All movies should end instead of having sequels. Sequels should only be necessary if the story is not finished. Is CBS still pretending CBS All Access is? Yeah, I mean, all of those shows have been a disaster. The new Star Trek's been a disaster. Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone was terrible. I mean, a bunch of good ideas. It was a good idea to bring Star Trek back to a television series. It really was a good idea. It was a good idea to do a new Twilight Zone show. Like, a lot of the things CBS All Access has thought about doing, I'm like, you know, on paper, that makes a lot of sense. And then every single one of them is awful. I like There Will Be Blood. What do you want? I've seen it like 8 times. I saw it in the theater a couple times. I'm like everybody else. I will say this. I think there's a 2-hour and 15-minute version of There Will Be Blood where it's just Daniel Day-Lewis being an asshole and yelling at people, and it's hilarious. That's a perfect movie. And then there's kind of this reaching for grandiose, epic, ending, beginning parts of There Will Be Blood that I don't necessarily think are perfect. Sometimes I think Paul Thomas Anderson gets in his own way. Actually, not sometimes. I think in general, Paul Thomas Anderson gets in his own way in all of his films. He's brilliant, but he's also lacks restrictions. He doesn't restrict himself enough. He's too indulgent. He has too much freedom. And he always has. DM me, I will get you groceries. Oh my god, this guy's a fucking hero. He's getting people groceries if you're elderly. I'm really worried they're gonna shut down my work for like 2 weeks. Chinese propaganda mirrors what you're seeing from Acosta and others who have attacked Donald Trump for stating truth. When did patient zero begin in US? How many people are infected? What are the names of the hospitals? Rey is a product of bad writing. Man, why is Star Wars getting tied into all of this? What the fuck does this have to do with Rey? This is all so confusing. Well, Hereditary was funny. Me and my friends all laughed our asses off at Hereditary because it is a fucking hilarious, overrated movie. All these overhyped horror movies, like It Follows, The Babadook, The Witch, Hereditary, they're all shit. I mean, I'm so sick of this. I'm sick of the new horror movie that's a masterpiece. Like, yeah, Hereditary is funny. I mean, don't get me wrong, Toni Collette's great in the movie, but yeah, I was laughing my ass off at Hereditary. They're fucking overhyping these okay movies and saying they're new horror classic. Like, fuck off. Delaying Major League Baseball season for safety made feel like a bad trade, but it was the only deal possible. Ohio is hoarding all virus for itself. I'm in Ohio right now. This is very scary. Oh no, people pointing and laughing at me. Oh. Oh, look. God damn it. Why is Hillary Clinton coming out with a documentary? All this shit. Will she just go away? I mean, I don't know why she doesn't get... People don't like you, Hillary. They never did. I mean, you were always a very controversial figure. Even back in the 90s. Mormon Church calls off all public gatherings around the world. Oh, shit. Hopefully this Trolls 2 movie will bomb now. Wow, they're going to close schools in San Francisco for 3 weeks. What your health plan will cover if you get coronavirus. Would you please leave Twitter altogether, the quartering? Nobody gives a shit, dude. No, I love that everything's not getting canceled, it's being postponed. Like, this concert my friend was gonna go to, it was like, they just announced today, it's like, it's not canceled, it's postponed. Like, it was supposed to be this Tuesday, and it's like, no, now it'll be July. Like, yay. Yay, it'll be July. July will be wonderful. Does that mean at the end of the year we're just gonna get a bunch of fucking concerts and basketball games and all these movies at the end of the year because everything's canceled, and we'll get the Donald Trump No Time to Die Daniel Craig James Bond movie? By the way, clever on that part, because that movie was gonna bomb. No Time to Die was gonna underperform at the box office. Like, I think they knew, and I'm a huge Cary Fukunaga fan, but that film had a shit production with so many writers. And I think they were scared, like, oh shit, this movie's probably only going to make like $500-600 million. And they're like, you know what? If we push it to the end of the year and we try to kind of reconstruct the marketing, maybe this film will make like $1 billion. They've really declined since the Skyfall days, you know? Just as much of a hack as Mundane Matt. I don't know. To be a hack as much as Matt is really a kind of class of its own. Even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey, and everything will be a chain of love. And in the morning when I rise. Yeah, so the reason I haven't made a video in like the last week is because I've been sick and I couldn't talk. The other 2 weeks before that, it was because I was working. Hope you guys like that Taking Woodstock video. Can you even make a great James Bond movie anymore? Yes, you can. I'm convinced Monday New Mutants doesn't even exist. Like, they just shot a trailer and it's not real. That guy's doing The Stand, too. He's doing that Stand miniseries. It's the guy who directed Fault in Our Stars. Yes, they brought in a female writer for No Time to Die from Killing Eve, but Danny Bowen... I don't have a problem with there being a more female-friendly, progressive James Bond movie. I just think, you know, everything that happened with... You unsubscribed to me or to Mundane Matt? Why the $200 million? I don't know. Every James Bond film James Bond films always have high budgets. The budgets for the Sean Connery James Bond films were all super high for the 60s. Moonraker was one of the most expensive films in the 70s. All of the films in the 80s had huge budgets. It's just been a thing for the James Bond franchise. One of the only James Bond movies that had a decent budget that wasn't over budgeted was like GoldenEye. I think GoldenEye cost like $80 million, which, don't me wrong, at the time was a big budget, but it made $350 million worldwide. Casino Royale had a budget of $150 million in 2006. Quantum of Solace cost $200 million or more than that. Spectre cost $250 million. Now, from what I know, Skyfall's budget was like $180 million. But that's happened with every James Bond film. That's not just the recent ones. If you go back to every James Bond film, they've always been some of the most expensive films ever made. Every decade. I don't know why the Broccoli family, for some reason, doesn't know how to budget a damn movie. I think you only really need to spend $120 million on a James Bond movie. I know they shoot in a lot of locations and they do a lot of stunt work, but yeah, I think you only need to spend... I don't know why they spend $250 million on James Bond movies. Seems crazy to me. It's weird that they continue with Daniel Craig. Can you do anything more with Daniel Craig character after Skyfall? No, I think after Skyfall, that pretty much should have been the end, even though I like Daniel Craig a lot. We kind of unfortunately got robbed. By the time he started playing James Bond, he was already fairly old. He was 38 when Casino Royale came out, which was a very fresh take on Bond, and I love that movie. But they just waited so long in between each movie. I think Skyfall ran into it. It's like, yeah, let's wrap this up, because Spectre I hated. And if this movie's no good, then he's in 4 movies I don't like. Wait, no, he's in 3 movies I don't like and 2 that I like, because I like Skyfall and Casino Royale. I was shocked Daniel Craig came back. I thought it was time to move on to like I mean, I was rooting for Dan Stevens, but then people started talking about Tom Hiddleston, and then now I keep hearing it's going to be Richard Madsen, the guy who played Robb Stark, and I saw that movie Rocket Man, and he's basically playing James Bond in that, and he's fantastic, and I think he'd be a good James Bond. But I think it's time to move on with Bond. I think it's time. I think if Daniel Craig could have got the role when he was like 30 and played it, and from then on, I think it would have helped. And if they would have stuck with the Casino Royale thing, which is basically you adapt the books very loyally. Like, Casino Royale is pretty close to the book, except for the period it takes place. And you read the book Casino Royale, that's a pretty good adaptation. Like, the whole him being tortured by Le Chiffre, that's in the book. All those iconic scenes that people like, a lot of it's in there. I think they should have, adapted Moonraker. Moonraker's one of my favorite books. I think that's my favorite book Ian Fleming wrote. They could have adapted more closer to the Man with the Golden Gun. I think that's what they should have done. Casino Royale showed that if you stick closer to Ian Fleming's material and make it more of a spy thriller with big action set pieces, there was the foot chase with Park Gore. I think that's the way they should have stuck with it, is just stick closer to the books. But instead, Quantum of Solace... I mean, Skyfall had an original screenplay and it was successful, but it's risky territory. You have all this source material to pull from. I don't know why they don't go back to the source material. There's all this great stuff in the books. And they're really fast-paced, intelligently written books. They're fun to read. And they really get into Bond's head, and I don't know why they don't do that with the movies more. No, I don't think coronavirus has killed the Sonic sequel. It will be interesting to see how the box office gets affected, though. I would like to see Martin McDonagh direct a Bond film. I think I'd be more interested in him writing one. That's the thing. I'm so sick of this Neil Purvis, Robert Wade guy or whatever, who've been writing every James Bond movie since the 90s. And then they bring in Paul Haggis occasionally or something. Can we get some new fucking screenwriters on James Bond? I mean, it's been the same 2 guys for like 20 fucking years. Like, could you just bring in a new writer, one writer, let them write the script, and that's it. Don't bring in 6 or 7 writers for this movie's had like 9 rewrites. Cary Fukunaga did a rewrite on the goddamn script. Like, when they had Danny Boyle and his writer, just let Danny Boyle direct the movie with the guy he wants to write it. That's your movie. Danny Boyle was my pick for a Bond film for years. If you can even go back and listen to old podcasts of mine where I suggest Danny Boyle. They should have just hired Danny Boyle, let him pick a screenwriter, say, okay, you're writing the movie, and that's it. Just go for it. It always turns into this fucking mess where they have all these fucking writers. I don't see how Dune doesn't bomb. Yeah, just hire some really talented. I mean, Cary Fukunaga, like him, like he's a really talented guy. They should have just hired him and said, "Hey, we're gonna throw this screenplay out. I know they had a limited time. We're just gonna throw most of this out. You have to come up with the screenplay from scratch with the writer you get to pick. We'll write the movie, and then we'll just go with it. Just do. I mean, that's how you do it. You know, it's too many cooks in the kitchen." I can get bringing somebody in to do like punch up, you know, like Tarantino used to be a script doctor, Aaron Sorkin. I get if you want to go to some guys good with dialogue and say, hey, can you punch up some of the dialogue so it's got some better quips to it? It's a little funny. I get that, but don't change the story. Don't change, you know, just have somebody come in and punch up the dialogue a little bit. That makes sense to me. But it's like they can't decide what the fuck a Bond film is. Every new Bond film is just makes it messier. I read somewhere that Rami Malek's character attempts to spread a virus, which played a big part in the delay. Oh my god, if that's true, that's insane. Yeah, I've heard of the show Hunters. I have no interest in watching it whatsoever. I don't give a fuck about watching people hunt Nazis in a show. That just feels like complete propaganda to me to perpetuate that there's still Nazis everywhere. And honestly, everything Jordan Peele's been involved with outside of his own movies, like Get Out on Us, has been pretty goddamn bad. You know, I had a lot of issues with Black Klansman. I did not like his Twilight Zone reboot, which he had very little handwriting in. And Hunters looks like crap. Jordan Peele's making the mistake where he's putting his name on a bunch of stuff that isn't directly involved with him. That's a huge way to kill your brand. Because he has like an M. Night Shyamalan brand. You know, he's made 2 really successful movies, but then he's spreading himself too thin. That's a big way to kill all that momentum you have. Like, what the new Candyman looks fine, and I'm a big fan of Candyman. But you got to be careful, man. Yeah, but they're, you know what I mean. They're trying to act like that everyone's a Nazi, like everyone who's conservative. There's, you know, there's that idea that 30% of America's Nazi. There's a lot of people who believe that adamantly, and they'll call any kind of political figure a Nazi. That's all what Hunters is about. It's about killing. It's not like an Inglorious Bastards thing. Like the deep subtext that show's trying to perpetuate, and it's throughout a lot of things in Hollywood, is that this country is filled with Nazis. I know that there's still Nazis alive from World War II. I get that. Well, that's the thing. Jordan Peele, he's just, I don't know if he's just getting so many paychecks. He's like, fuck it, dude. I did sketch comedy for so many years. I had my show. I'm going to get paid. So he puts his name on this shit and they just give him a check for millions of dollars. So maybe that's what he's doing. And you can't really blame the guy. The Candyman trailer was fine. It looks a lot like the original Candyman, which makes me happy. And I love the original Candyman. Yeah, there's still people that are alive from World War II. I mean, they'd be old. Yes, I'm very sick. I'm a little bit better right now, but I've pretty much been laying in bed for like 4 days. I didn't see The Invisible Man. Like I said, I've been sick, so I really haven't been able to go out and do things. Pat, you don't know that everyone who doesn't agree with the far left are all alt-right Nazis. Oh no, I'm aware. Have you seen The Hunt? That film basically has liberal elite as the bad guy. Yes, I have seen that film. Mad Mickelson or whatever. It's a terrific film. Yeah, I love these sequels that have the same title. Like the new Halloween movie they made was a sequel to the original film, but they called it Halloween, even though it was a sequel to the original John Carpenter film. So it's like, wait, so it's just called Halloween. It can't be called like Halloween something. There's this is becoming a thing where a movie's a sequel, but then they don't call it like two because there was already a two. It's like, okay, well, why don't you, instead of calling it Candyman, why don't you call it the Candyman? The Candyman. That wouldn't be bad. Or if like Halloween, you could call it something like On Halloween, or like, something like that. Like come up with a new kind of play on it. Yeah, like The Predator. Yeah, do something like that instead of just giving it the same title as the original movie. Halloween something fall. Oh, I thought you were talking about that foreign film, The Hunt, where the guy gets accused of like sexual assault and. Yeah, or have the balls and just call it Halloween 2. Like, fuck it. Why not? Or Candyman 2. Well, the original Candyman, it's a gothic horror film, but they take the gothic setting and put it in this urban area. Bernard Rose, who directed a terrific and underrated film I saw in the cinema last year, which I've always been a fan of, called Paper House. Which, if you're a fan of Pan's Labyrinth or Heavenly Creatures, those kind of movies, terrific film called Paper House, very overlooked. Very similar to those films, a kid living in a fantasy world with horror and fantasy elements, really dark fantasy. Bernard Rose had come up in theater with Clive Barker. Very great director. Very shares a lot of similarities with Peter Jackson and Guillermo del Toro. And I think was an influence on them, if anything. And I think Clive Barker was an influence on them. In fact, Del Toro stated Clive Barker's an influence. But Candyman, I love what James Rolfe said about it, that in the 90s where people were kind of done with horror, or Hollywood was mocking it, or things were self-referential about it, like Scream, Candyman was a legitimate scary movie. Candyman's one of the only movies that scares me. He's a specter like Freddy Krueger. For the first half of the movie, for all you know, Helen is crazy. And then when the Candyman actually shows up, there's that moment you realize that he's real, and it becomes even more horrifying. It's got one of the scariest endings in horror history. It's the best Clive Barker adaptation. I like it better than Hellraiser, although I'm a big Nightbreed fan. But it's gothic horror in its purest form. It's a well acted, well directed, well written movie, and it's one of the great horror films of the '90s. And there's a lot you could learn from it. It's to take your material seriously, not to be all retro and jokey about it, to actually to treat your monster like a monster, and to care about that, nurture it. But that's because it was a great visionary director who was, unfortunately, did not have a career that was worthy of him. But I think Candyman's a classic. And legitimately scary. Like, no bullshit, that's a scary fucking movie. No, I've not seen Person of Interest. Is that show with uh Jesus, with Jim Caviezel, written by Jonathan Nolan? Candyman's got a creepy score too. It's like emotional too. It's not like it's an emotional movie. That's one thing I always really liked about it. Yeah, I've seen episodes of that show. I remember when it was on television. I didn't watch it on Netflix, but my mother watched it, and I'd go over and visit her. I remember being on like years ago. Yeah, there is a lack of Hollywood. Well, it's just this postmodernist thing, and it's this meta thing. We're living in like a post Tarantino world, everything has to be self-aware of what genre it's in. That's where guys like Ryan Johnson thrive. Everything has to be aware of what it is, and it's aware that you know everything about pop culture. Which, don't get me wrong, when like Reservoir Dogs came out, that was really cool that they were talking about Madonna, or they were referencing the Fantastic Four and Marvel in general. You know, where he's like, this guy looks just like the fucking Thing. You know, that was cool. It was like, oh wow, they're talking like you would talk with your buddies. They're aware of these things in pulp culture. But now every movie sort of does that, and they're commenting on how we perceive these things and how fans take it instead of treating it with the sincerity, like it's earnest. Like that was what was so good about Christopher Nolan's Batman movies. When I saw Batman Begins, it's so earnest. It's not like, I mean, he is subverting your expectations a little bit, but it's like they're treating it with this very serious, you know, like he's taking Jim Gordon and Bruce Wayne and all of this stuff very seriously. And he wants you to take it seriously too. Another underrated film by a director, I think his name is Jim Riley or some Australian filmmaker, The Reflecting Skin. He only made 3 movies. He made Heartless recently, and then he made this film in the 90s. I want to do a video about him sometime. Really good filmmaker. I've been studying his stuff lately. His name's slipping my mind. I think it's like John Ridley or something. Most people know his film The Reflecting Skin, but he made this film with Brendan Fraser in the 90s that's so fucking, it's like a good bad movie or a bad good movie. I don't know. It falls in between some world of David Lynch and exploitation. It's fantastic. There's never been a time where Michael Pena isn't horribly miscast. Pat, when you created your channel, what was your channel? It was called Renaissance Men. It was the original name of the channel. What went wrong with Brendan Fraser? He got divorced, and he owed so much money to his wife because they were charging him what he made when he was making his biggest money, that he had to quit making movies because he would go to the judge and he'd be like, I'm not making this money. I can't pay this child support. Because in California, you get fucked over. They were charging him like he was making mummy money, and he wasn't. So he pretty much had like a whole breakdown because of that, and it really hurt his career. I think you could make a low budget thing movie that'd be really cool. There's that episode of The X-Files called Ice from season 1. That's basically just The Thing, just like the episode Home is basically Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And it's terrific, and they do it on a TV budget. It's just like 6 characters. Mulder and Scully go out there with these people, and it's The Thing. I mean, there's some like bug that's been in the ice for years, some kind of creature, and they don't know who's infected, and they all turn to each other. There's very little special effects, and it's very clever. It's like an hour. It's like you could actually do The Thing with, like, people always think of the special effects and the gore in The Thing. But I don't think you'd have to do that. I think you could make a Thing movie that's more about the paranoia of who the Thing is and who's infected, and less about... Well, that's a question of Candyman supernatural, because there's an interpretation. You could see Candyman as not being real, and that she's only seeing Candyman, or Candyman is manifested like an urban legend by the people. Like it's a localized thing, that he actually doesn't exist, but he is created through that. So I don't know, but by the end of the movie, they pretty much make it that Candyman's real. So I guess you would just have to say it's supernatural. But for a while, when you're watching that movie, they don't really say. That's what's kind of creepy about Candyman, is that until they get to a point where they can't hide it anymore, they play with whether or not the Candyman actually exists. Like the first half of the movie, you don't really know if there is a Candyman or if it's just an urban legend. Didn't the Carpenter Thing make Paranoia really well, though? Well, yeah, but a lot of it was the special effects. But the best parts of that Thing movie is the Paranoia. I'm saying you could do that with less special effects. Like, you don't need a lot of shots of the Thing or people being assimilated. You could focus more on everyone being scared about who is the Thing. I agree. I think It Chapter 2 would have been better if the Losers Club would have fought with each other if Pennywise ever existed in the first place. Or if they're all just remembering it that way. And this faded memories. I think that would have been nice to take a more grounded approach with the material. Honestly, just make a drama about these adults who are trying to deal with their past, and then they come to a conclusion like, oh wait, Pennywise is real. We do have to kill him. I agree with you. Yeah, that's the way it should be. Like, the thing doesn't have to have a lot of special effects. That Carpenter movie would still be great with less of the great special effects. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love that as much as anyone, but it doesn't need it. He didn't lean on it like a crutch. Like, he used it and it helped to take the movie to another place. But the thing that makes that movie work are just filmmaking principles of how to build suspense. Did he, though? Did he break the Superman curse? Because that show actually got horrible reviews. It's got like 52 on Metacritic. And I know that a lot of people say they like the show and fans like it, but I don't think that. I watched The Witcher and I don't think it was any good. I thought it was horrible. I mean, it's successful, but it would have been successful despite him, not because of him. So I would make the argument that he technically didn't break the Superman curse, because if we're just talking about it being successful, he was in Mission Impossible Fallout, and that was a huge hit, and everyone loved it, and he was the bad guy in that. Wouldn't that technically be breaking the Superman curse? I have the same problems with both Doctor Sleep and The Haunting of Hill House, and I'm a big Mike Flanagan fan. I met Mike Flanagan years ago when his film Absentia played at a film festival I went to, and it was clearly the standout film. And I went to him and I was like, hey man, you're a really good director. I was like, that was really well made, because it was a low budget movie. If you've never seen this film Absentia, it's all of his movies, but the beginning of it. And then I saw Oculus a few years later and I really liked it. And it's really weird seeing him grow. But yeah, basically Haunting of Hill House is great for about 6 episodes, and then the ending is fucking awful. Like, the last episode is goddamn terrible. And Doctor Sleep, I think, for about like 60% of it's like a really good movie, and then a lot of the shit in the ending is just like, he loses it, you know? He's never made like that perfect tight movie. Particular Hill House, I really don't like the ending at all. But like episodes 4, 5, 6, I think are fantastic. Yeah, budget up. Yeah, no, that episode Ice and Home. No one's ever been able to make a good Texas Chainsaw movie after Tobe Hooper. Tobe Hooper wasn't even able to fucking do it, and yet the X-Files has that episode Home, and it's phenomenal. It's like Texas Chainsaw meets David Lynch, but that episode Ice is it shows you can do an episode, like, you can do the thing on a low budget. You don't need that much money. Yeah, no, exactly. Episodes like 4, 5, and 6 of Hill House are terrific. Yeah, I agree. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is an entertaining comedy. I agree. I'm not arguing that, but to capture the essence of why the first Texas Chainsaw was so good, the episode of the X Files Home is one of the only times I've ever seen that done. Um, Especially when Mulder and Scully actually go in the house. The first like half of the episode's kind of bullshit with the sheriff and the kid with the blood. I mean, all that stuff's great, but when Mulder and Scully have to go in the house after the one cop gets killed, and that's fantastic. That's so tense, and there's booby traps everywhere. What a great idea that like 2 FBI agents have to go into this house that this inbred family has been living in since the Civil War. Just a wonderful idea. I keep hearing people say that this is no time to panic, but last time I checked, a global pandemic and a stock market crash is a pretty good time to panic. If not now, when? When everything goes smoothly? Oh my god, Ethan. You're still on the cyber frog thing, bro? Maybe you're not scared of coronavirus, but you should be scared about passing it on to people you know who are at risk. It's not just old people, it's people with asthma, people who smoke, people who have underlying health problems, aka a lot more people than you think. Emma Watson won't apologize for her new car. Tom Hanks says the coronavirus. Out of all the damn white men on this earth. And look at this badass motherfucker. Robert Pattinson reminds everyone that Twilight is weird and disgusting. Okay. China is blaming coronavirus on the US. The US media began attacking anyone who mentioned Wuhan was the source of the coronavirus. Our US media is controlled by China. The conspiracy goes deeper. This crisis is incredibly revealing about how much of the shit is just fake. It's, I mean, the word xenophobia. Just how the fuck is this all about xenophobia? Oh, fuck you, Huffington Post. Do. Back to top. I want to refresh my Twitter. I'm trying to get Twitter updates. Unfortunately, Twitter is not updating as much as it was earlier today. Earlier today, it was like non-fucking stop, you know? Are you sure you don't have corona, my man? I'm not sure. I very much could have corona. You sound southern as fuck, Pat. Well, I am from the south. Pat, what do you want to be, a vampire or werewolf? I think being a vampire would be better, but I think werewolves are cooler. Like, you're a vampire, you get to live forever, you drink blood, you stay up at night, you get to stay sexy. A werewolf, you turn into a giant demon dog monster. But I think werewolves are pretty badass. You know what I mean? I don't know, the Lord of the Rings show sounds crazy. Did you see the Ohio news? What specifically, that we have the coronavirus everywhere and they're shutting down schools? Somebody messaged me and told me that it was like really bad in Ohio. Is there something specific you're talking about, John McKelly? Because I do live in Ohio. What can we expect? Reparations from China. Would you be willing to have the podcast with Blood Money during the apocalypse if you give it? Yeah, me and Blood Money have been planning on doing a podcast with people. It's just scheduling. I love your Batman 1989 overrated video. Have you ever felt similar about other old movies? Yes, of course. A lot of them. I wanted that to be a series of like, how does it hold up? But none of my series do well. That's always been a continuing. Ohio canceled school for 3 weeks and government banned all large gatherings. Well, all right. There we go. What didn't you like about The Witcher? Specifically the dialogue. I thought the dialogue and character interactions were very, very poor. I didn't totally hate the acting, even though it was schlocky as fuck. The special effects were surprisingly decent, and the action scenes were cool. But overall, it was just a very generic, pretty poorly written fantasy action show. Like, you know, that was one thing that made Game of Thrones stand out in its early seasons, mind you, was that it had this poetic, engaging, intelligent dialogue, where a lot of other shows within those genres always had cheesy dialogue, and The Witcher kind of went back to that cheesy, over-the-top dialogue. I mean, immediately when I was watching just the first episode, I was like, oh my god, these are the conversations they're having. And just the way everybody was acting, it was like, where's the poetry? Where's the drama? Where's the, you know, I mean, it should be really drawing you in and being compelling, because The Witcher's there's great books there, there's great material there. Um, Plus, yeah, it was sloppy in how it was constructed when it transitions from different things going on. I don't think that was very well done. Yeah, just do a podcast for the next month. Yeah, no, the fucking dialogue is shit. I mean, that's the thing that kills a lot of shows and movies. It's not like you can have a sloppy plot and stuff like that, but you can get by on like good lines of dialogue, like conversations can save a movie, you know. But The Witcher's dialogue is just so just amateur hour shit. It's like, oh my god, this is the best you guys could come up with. Henry Cavill's okay. I mean, he's just not that great of an actor. I don't know when people are just going to accept that dude just doesn't have great chops. I mean, yeah, Walking Dead's fucking terrible after the first season. But I disagree. I think the first few seasons of Game of Thrones are as good, if not way better, than Breaking Bad. And I'll say this: I don't think Breaking Bad can touch The Sopranos. I rewatched The Sopranos recently, and it boggles my mind that I lived in a world for the last few years where everyone thought Breaking Bad was so much better than The Sopranos and other shows. You go back and rewatch The Sopranos and Deadwood and all those shows, they're so much better written and acted than Breaking Bad. I mean, it's not even close. Tony Soprano is a much more interesting character than Walter White. So much more interesting. And I love Breaking Bad, but like there's single episodes of The Sopranos that work like great little movies. There's more great episodes of The Sopranos. And like it's like Twin Peaks influence. There's so much David Lynch of it in it. I mean, David Chase is like, and his team was on like another. I mean, I have this weird addiction lately where I've been watching I didn't even know there was a subculture of people who watch clips from The Sopranos because I haven't watched The Sopranos in years. But I stay up till like 3 in the morning and watch clips of The Sopranos. And I found out there's a whole community. It's very addicting. That's how great The Sopranos is. You don't need to watch full episodes. You can watch just snippets of every season. And there's this whole community on YouTube of people who just watch clips from The Sopranos and comment the same shit about a varsity athlete because Uncle Junior told Tony he wasn't a varsity athlete. And then there's all these Goodfellas quotes. I would highly recommend it. If you want to like deep dive into some fun internet shit, just start watching Sopranos clips and just go down that rabbit hole till 4 in the morning and then read the comment section, which is fucking hilarious. I think Sopranos is great from the beginning. I mean, don't get me wrong, it takes a little while to find its footing, but yeah, I think the first season of The Sopranos was great. I think it's pretty much great till like the end. Like the second half of season 6 is a little wonky. But I don't agree with people. I'll say this. I think the last season of Breaking Bad's a huge misfire. I think the last episode's a huge disappointment. I think the neo-Nazi storyline is ridiculous. Um, I think the whole cigarette episode with Jesse realizing what happened, I think all of that's very like it's pretty much on the edge of being contrived. People forget about stupid stuff like the airline accident in season 2, where they kept hyping up what would happen with the pool, and then Walter turns out was just a coincidence, and that guy was the air traffic controller and the plane crash. I mean, a lot of that stuff is pretty bad and pretty like jump the sharkish, and people seem to overlook that with Breaking Bad. They just focus on like season 1, 3, 4, and they kind of ignore that season 2 and 5 have some wonky writing. Where I go back and think about 6 Feet Under, Deadwood, The Sopranos, and all of those shows have as many great episodes and great performance. I mean, Breaking Bad, I get it. Like his character is very considered, and there is something sort of Shakespearean about Walter White, but all of that stuff's in those HBO shows. In fact, I like Mad Men just as much as I like Breaking Bad. I think Matthew Weiner and Don Draper is a phenomenal character, and I love Mad Men too. I don't think Breaking Bad stands above all of these shows. I think it's great like all of these shows, but I don't know why it's considered the best. I think it has a lot to do with the cool factor that it's a guy making meth, and people think that's cool, and the show had this coolness about it with Jesse, and I think that makes people like it a little bit more than these shows that are just as well written. I mean, I'm sorry, Breaking Bad is not top Twin Peaks for me, especially like Twin Peaks: The Return. And then you go back and watch great shows. People underrate shows like they underrate shows like The Wonder Years or China Beach, 30 something, all of these influential shows that changed television and created a lot of Northern Exposure. People overlook all these old great shows. They think like television didn't get good till recently. And then, yeah, then there's stuff like The Simpsons and Seinfeld, Mary Tyler Moore Show, the original MASH show. MASH, the show's a phenomenal show. Aged very well, too. Yeah, the Wonder Years Wonder Years tells these great stories in 20 minutes, just one after another. Phenomenal, you know? So I'm not with this Breaking Bad's above every other show, you know? I think it's a great show, but I think there's a lot of great shows. I don't agree with this whole Breaking Bad hype. I think a lot of that's marketing. I think a lot of that's hype. I think that show was sold to people. As they like to quote it and all that stuff. You know, be like, I'm the danger. You know, they think it's the most bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, Vince Gilligan's super talented. Love his X-Files stuff. I mean, I love Vince Gilligan. I'm not shitting on Breaking Bad. I'm a fan. But to me, it's not great show. The Shield was a great fucking show. Vic Mackey. Oh, I mean, there's all sorts of great fucking shows that are as good as Breaking Bad. It just makes me think people didn't watch television. They haven't watched any other show but Breaking Bad. No, I did not like the machine gun in Jesse's Revenge in the last episode. I think it's rather silly. Why didn't they check the trunk of the car when Walter pulls in? Like, they just let him pull in, and the fact that we see the gun get hyped up at the beginning of the season with the fight, and they didn't know what was going to happen with it, they write themselves in a corner. And all it is the finales that Walter's putting a gun in the trunk of a car so he can drive in and then click a button, and then a gun comes out of the fucking trunk and shoots all the Nazis. And then he plans on pretty much him and Jesse dying, but then he sees Jesse was like a slave, so he jumps on Jesse to protect him, and then takes the bullet and all that. No, I think it's like very sloppy and lesser than what that show had done before. I think like the way Walter killed Gus was so clever, and I think the machine gun thing was like, it felt like too much of a TV show at that point. It was like too over the top. Excusing Ozymandias, which is a great episode. I agree with people who think that's great. But in general, I think season 5 has some of the sloppiest writing. And in particular, I don't like the finale. In general, I don't like the pacing of it. Yes, Nostalgia Critic does get recommended to me. Dude, Mission Hill, that's my shit. Call me the Grubermeister. The Grubermeister. No, Mission Hill is fucking fantastic. It's Hooters night at Shooters. Or is it Shooters night at Hooters? And I like Better Call Saul quite a bit, but it's just so fucking slow. There's episodes that feel like Breaking Bad that have the pacing, but in general, and I just don't get Mike's character that he looks older and he's supposed to be younger. There's this really stupid episode where they bring Trevor in from Grand Theft Auto 5. He's also in Walking Dead, and Mike like takes his gun from him in this parking garage, and it's clearly like sped up footage and it looks stupid. They're trying to convince me that this like 70-year-old man can do all this badass shit, and it just doesn't work for me. Even though there's like great episodes. There's that episode where, you know, you find out his son was murdered, and that's when Mike has to, like, he kills these cops. I'm not but there's also stuff that's sloppy in Better Call Saul. Monk's a very fun show. It's a very entertaining show. I like the Buffalo Bills in it. How they execute the thing with Jesse's girlfriend, and then he watches it and then takes revenge was awesome, though. I mean, it was alright. I don't think it was, like, great. I like how they filmed it and put it together. I thought it was a little sloppy, though, for me. Like, it felt like a lot of things had to happen for that to work out. Also, I mean, like, yeah, I just don't... I don't know. It's just like everything that show was building towards, and then it's just Walter White versus some neo-Nazis that show up. And then he leaves and then comes back and then kills them all. Like, really? That's your epilogue to this whole thing? It just felt like that show should have ended with Ozymandias. Like, that should be the end of the show. I love Unsolved Mysteries. The format of that show is terrific. It reminds me of Errol Morris's The Thin Blue Line, where you have these like cinematic reenactments of true crime events. I think Unsolved Mysteries is terrific. I did like Daredevil, yes. I think the Disney Plus Marvel shows will be good. Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't be. Yeah, that's a good scene where Jesse kills. I agree. Pretty much all of season 3 and season 4 is pretty fantastic. You know, there was like Vince Gilligan had to do a lot to build up to that stuff, but season 3 and 4, like that was just great TV. Great, you know, on the edge of your seat every week, not knowing what was going to happen. Great binge TV, everything with Gus and Todd, all that stuff. I mean, that's just season 3. Actually, in retrospect, is really great. That's like peak Breaking Bad. That's like peak Vince Gilligan. Yeah, I don't like the finale. I think it's very slow moving, disappointing, lazy cop out of an ending. Like, of course he's gonna die. Duh. Of course he tells Skylar, "I did it for me." Of course he's able to get the money and everything for his family by threatening the people that, you know, all that stuff with gray matter, all those years with gray matter, all that building up, and then he just has a thing where like they do a fake assassin thing so they'll give his kid money. All of that shit. Just an easy way out, man. Of course he saves Jesse and Jesse gets away. Of course he saves the day and fucking gets to die in his meth lab when baby blue. It's just so fucking obvious, you know? In a show that wasn't obvious. Yeah, Todd was an interesting character, I agree. I don't agree. I think Breaking Bad starts falling apart in season 4 into season 5, even though there's still good episodes of Walking Dead. Season 2 I think is horrible when they're at the farm. I don't know how anyone likes that. That's a horrible season. I mean, that's when Frank Darabont got fired and they cut the budget. Season 2 is when I was like, this is shit. But I will say the pilot of Walking Dead, the Frank Darabont pilot, is fantastic. That's one of the best zombie movies ever made, is the first episode, and shows what that show could have been. I didn't watch Doom Patrol. Yeah, WandaVision's a good idea. They can actually explore some of the more surrealist elements of Marvel comic books in that character. So you're just hoping to that being good. Yeah, and I watched Walking Dead every week. I was back when it was like, you know, 15 million people a week watched Walking Dead. It was a huge deal. And I always struggled with the writing. I think they should have found a way to make Gus the last villain, but he still had the great death scene. Well, that's the thing. You could technically end the show when Walter's on the phone and says, "I won." You could just end the show right there. You could also end it when he's laughing when he gets all the money taken. It's just that it was such a cultural phenomenon in that last season. It was almost like they were writing knowing that everybody was watching it, where before they were sort of writing it and the show was being discovered and it was acclaimed. I also can't wait for The Boys season 2. I'm very excited. The Boys is my shit right now. Like, that's my show right now. I'm all about it. Yeah, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier could be fun. It could be like Lethal Weapon meets a superhero. I watched one episode of Outcast. I watched the pilot and I thought it was pretty good. But I never watched anything after that. I did like the first episode, though. That's the one with Patrick Fugit, right? It's the Robert Kirkman comic. And, what's his name? The guy directed The Guest and You're Next and The Blair Witch and all that stuff. Adam something? No, I've never liked American Horror Story. I thought it was bad from the first season. I did like some episodes I saw of that episode, The Witch Season, Covenant or whatever. But I'm just not a fan of Ryan Murphy in general. I don't like Glee. I don't like Nip Tuck, even though it's funny as fuck. Nip Tuck's probably the one thing of his I like. I just don't like him as a writer at all. And I think American Story is horribly overrated and bad. I've never liked it. I didn't like it from the beginning. I watched the first episode when it premiered. I was very excited. I watched the whole first season. I watched parts of the other seasons, but everything I've ever seen, I've never really liked that much. Glee was a really popular show for a couple years. For a couple years, Glee was like everything. But I've never been a fan of his. Uncle Mikey Productions, where they break down Ralph Scipio shots films are bad and made a video about Roma being overrated. Well, that sounds like my shit. Please put the link of that in the Ralph the Movie Maker's films being bad and Roma being bad. Thank you. Put that in my comment section. I will watch that shit. That sounds like my shit. Because that's exactly how I feel. Put that in my pipe and I will smoke it. I don't know if AC/DC is overrated or not. I mean, they're shit. They're horrible, so I don't know. Do people like that? I mean, a lot of people talk about them being a dad rock or shitty band. They probably deserve what they get. I mean, hey man, they sold a lot of albums. Like, isn't that album the second highest selling album ever? And everybody I'm not gonna hate on them. I don't think their music's any good, but I mean, they're kind of a meme. I mean, a lot of people shit on AC/DC, so who knows, you know? I like Ralph the Movie Maker's early videos when he just seemed like a kid who was like doing little parodies on the side. I really like when he reviews stuff like the ghost shows or the Bigfoot shows. I'm not as big on him as a film critic. I don't think he's a very good film critic. I think he's every 18 to 20-year-old ever who's into movies and becomes a film buff. He doesn't really have any opinion I haven't heard when I was that age. But his videos were very well formatted, and I really liked the stuff where he just covers those shows. Like, I just loved the ghost show where he's like, ghosts aren't real. Or the Bigfoot thing where he's like, they just don't want to find Bigfoot, they want to kill him. I think that's when his shit's his best. Is when he covers some stupid fucking show on TV. Ghost Diners or whatever. That's the videos I like from him. Although I must say in the last like couple of years his content has taken a huge drop. His content has gotten a lot worse ever since he's like become film school Ralph. No president can promise to prevent future outbreaks, but I can promise you this: when I'm president, we will be better prepared, respond better, and recover better. We'll lead with science and listen to the experts, and I will always tell you the truth. Biden, you don't even remember your fucking name, okay? You don't even remember how to tie your shoes anymore. When you go to take a piss, you grab your nipples. Man, I want to go get my mask. I can't wait for everyone to be wearing masks. It's going to be like Mortal Kombat. Everyone's going to look like... Everyone's going to look like Scorpion and Sub-Zero. We're just going to have a bunch of Mortal Kombat people ready for this coronavirus. Hillary is a Bernie bro now. Today was like if we didn't start the fire was a day. Feeling pretty good that I didn't have any work scheduled for the next couple months. Makes my inability to get a job look prescient. Yeah, you are kind of a hack, unless VH1 does a new I Love the Whatever. I love the 2000s. You have a 99.5% chance of surviving coronavirus as a healthy young person. XCOM players. But by the way, if any of you think I'm shitting on Jordan Peele, I think Key and Peele is one of the greatest sketch shows ever. Like, for me, it's like Monty Python, Kids in the Hall. You know, you gotta throw Saturday Night Live. The problem with Saturday Night Live is there's a lot of bad Saturday Night Live mixed with the good Saturday Night Live. But, like, I'm a huge, you know, The Mr. Show, Kids in the Hall guy. Kids in the Hall and all that. And you have to put Key and Peele in that list. Key and Peele is phenomenal. And a lot of the stuff that's good about his movies or shows is the directing and the tone mastery that's in that show. Like a lot of great sketches. I always had a Key and Peele sketch in my head called Shaniqua's Baby, where it's a parody of Rosemary's Baby. And they're on like the Maury show, and you know, Key is on there dressed up like Satan in the Satan costume. Yes, SCTV also. Yes, Rick Moranis phenomenal on that. He's dressed up like Satan though, like and I know Jordan Peele's a big Rosemary's Baby fan, and they're on there and they're like, Satan, you are the father of Shaniqua's baby, and then of course Jordan Peele is Shaniqua, and she has a little demon baby, and he's like, yo, that ain't my baby. No, and he freaks out and he looks like the Satan from Rosemary's Baby. That to me would be like the greatest sketch of all time. I had that in my head for years, Shaniqua's Baby. If I ever get a chance in life to ever talk to Jordan Peele, I want to be like, dude, Shaniqua's Baby. He didn't start the fire. Yeah, of course I like Hoosiers. I'm a man. I have balls. I'm Joe Biden and I forgot this message. Of course Joe Biden has like all time. And you know, I'm not even mocking Joe Biden. Like, I am, but I feel bad. Like, it's not fun to watch an old guy on TV fuck up. Like, it's not enjoyable. It's pretty disturbing. What's your waifu? You mean like an anime? Like, who's my waifu? I'm a big fan of the chick in Tenchi Muyo, the like demon chick from Tenchi Muyo, or all the Tenchi shows, Tenchi Universe, Tenchi in Tokyo. I can't remember her name, but she was like a big waifu for me when I was young. I know. I don't know why. Yeah, these people like it's so overhyped how popular like Elizabeth Warren or like Bernie Sanders are. I mean, I'm not hating on it, but like it's like people don't realize like neoliberals don't like you. And I hate neoliberals. Saturday Night Live is neoliberal. Anyone who's like a liberal over the age of 40, they're all fucking neocon Democrats. And they will not vote for these people. They don't give a fuck. They're not progressives. Don't let them fool you. They're not. And this young generation thinks they're the future and they're voting. Well, then it's like, why the fuck aren't these people winning then? It's the same fucking thing. Hillary Clinton, neoliberal, Joe Biden, it's the same shit. It's the same establishment Democrat every fucking election. Now watching. The world is canceled. What a great name for a stream. If I do say so myself, god damn it. No, I did not get my Sentinel Sphere Blu-ray collection, unfortunately. No, I didn't vote for Bernie. Are you kidding me? I'm a libertarian, man. Bernie Sanders is the last guy I want to vote for. Pat, think of an alternate reality where you were a girl. Well, I think I would probably be one of those girls that just lays there during sex. You know, like a dead fuck unless the guy do most of the work. I mean, I'd be a slut. I mean, let's just get that out of the way. And I'd pretend that I like video games and comic books and stuff. You know? Just to seem like I have something going on. But I'd be really good at it. Like, you'd believe that I really was into it. I like cheesecake. If I was a girl, I'd cosplay as Yuna from Final Fantasy X. Yeah, but what if you were like a big black girl? That wouldn't be a very good cosplay now, would it? Shit, you caught me. Caught again. You saw right through me. You knew too well. I actually hate video games and comic books and anime. I just want to watch Grey's Anatomy and Once Upon a Time. I work at Cheesecake Factory. Want a slice? I mean, I have no problem with like a good candidate to come from the left or the right. Like I mean, I'm a realist. You know, I don't you know, I mean, being libertarian, I'm not really for any kind of politician or government. I would like less government. I don't mind a local government per se, where I think problems can get solved, but a broader government for the president, I'm not very big on. I think problems would be solved better on a local level than on a global or government level. I think problems can be solved with individuals in their own communities helping each other and figuring out how to solve problems. And doing things yourself. Learning how to take care of yourself, learning how to do things yourself, build things yourself, and work on things yourself, educating yourself. People want other people to take care of themselves. People like convenience. And they don't value hard work that you can do. Um, you know, learning to cook for yourself, learning to build things for yourself, learning how to fix your own car. You know, actually, I mean, a lot of things like that, things that you can learn. You know, uh, how to fix things is just so undervalued. You know, the older you get in life, you realize how important it is to actually have some knowledge in like everyday things. Like, fuck, it would be nice if I actually knew a little bit more about these things. Well, I always hear about the 1%, like all the rich people being like Republicans, but like, and I never quite got that because all the people I know, like Bill Gates, all the Silicon Valley guys, Mark Zuckerberg, all the guys that are billionaires, they're all liberal. Like, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of the ones that come in my head, they're all liberals. It's not like there's not a bunch of 1% like, what's Mark Zuckerberg? He's worth like $80 billion. But why don't they just give their money away? Like, if they want, just like give the country give $20 billion to the country and give it to poor people. Like, if that's what you believe in, just do it. You know, like I could think of, like, just off the top of my head, there's a bunch of billionaires or super rich. All the celebrities who are rich, they're all liberal. Like, just give your money away. Let me come live in your mansion. I'll come live in your mansion. Thank you. Socialism. Let's do it. Or like, give me $1 million. Fuck it. You have like George Clooney has like $500 million. He could give at least, what is it? He could give at least $100,000, right? You know, to like a million people. Like, give it out, man. Like, that would change the world. Yeah, Jeff Bezos, like all these dudes who are super rich. Like, give me your money, man. Don't give it to fucking charity. Just give it to people directly. J.K. Rowling is worth like what, $2 billion. She could give $500 million to people, and then let people live in one of her 10 houses. Like, do it. I'm not saying this as a negative. Just fucking do it. If I was a billionaire and I had a bunch of stuff, I would give like $100 million away to people and let people live in my house. I would. Totally, no lie. Like, if I had $1 billion, I would just find people around the country and give them like money. I'd buy them a car, I'd buy them a new house. I would just give them money all the time. I would not donate to charities. I would just find people and give them money directly. And I would also like, I'd hold events that are free, all sorts of shit like that. And yeah, people could come party at my house. It'd be great. Why not? Yeah, just give people your money. I mean, that's what you want everyone else to do, and that's what you preach. Well, then give your money away. You have enough of it. You don't need all that money. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end. James Harden pledges $10 million bills to keep nations strip clubs. Is that what it says? Oh, it's the Onion. Yeah, strip clubs are really suffering right now. Is this the day of reckoning? Everything is shutting down. People are staying home. Pizza stocks will go up. Yeah, the poor strip clubs. Let's have a moment of silence for all the strip clubs out there. Amen. America must have said something about this virus's mama. The shit took out baseball, Disneyland, and Tom Hanks in 24 hours. We've been told over and over that Medicare for all is too radical. I think it's radical to have a healthcare system that leaves 87 million people uninsured or underinsured. I think it's radical that people can't afford to see a doctor during a pandemic. I moved to America prepared to die. This changes everything. God, my lower back fucking hurts so bad. While I don't have any symptoms, have not traveled recently, and have not been in contact with anyone remotely connected to any cases, I have decided that after watching videos of people raiding the toilet paper aisle, that I will be self-quarantining indefinitely. Wait, so somebody earlier said there's 100,000 cases in Ohio. Is that, what the fuck, is that true? That would be all over the news, right? There hasn't even been 100,000 cases. I heard they were just shutting schools down. Yes, old sport. Fuck, you don't have to organize. You just give people the money. Yes, I've thought about doing a cartoon show before, in particular a show called Galaxy Red, which would be a mech parody anime show where the two lead characters who pilot mechs are brothers and they die in every episode, and then the next episode starts and they're just alive again, and then they die in horribly tragic, gory deaths. And it would be this expansive space opera universe influenced by stuff like Gunbuster or Macross or Galaxy of Galactic Heroes, stuff like that I'm a big fan of. 100K estimated in Ohio because they only have tested like 400 some odd people. Oh, so they're estimating 100,000 people in Ohio? Yeah, how many people live in Ohio? Yeah, fuck, if we could wipe Dayton out. Well, we just had that Arnold event here. And they closed it down to the public, but then they let the public came in and all these people came here from other countries. Would you consider checking Red Bar Radio? They have a YouTube channel posting clips from their shows, plus they mock celebrities and comedians. I mean, if you put it in the comment section, I'll watch anything you guys want me to. Just put it in the comment section. Yeah, I don't agree that it's in certain states. I think the shit's everywhere. I think everywhere has it, guys. I think that's what we're starting to learn now from this whole fucking last 24 hours. I know Bernie Sanders really wants you to have fucking health insurance. Disney is closing Walt Disney World, its theme park resort in Orlando, Florida, because of the coronavirus outbreak. The company closed Disneyland in California earlier this day. You know, Universal should just stay open and get all of the money. If you were gay, that would be okay. We all know UFOs are real. All we need to ask is where do they come from? What do they want? Oh boy, Andy Dick, that's all I need right now. Let's admit it, US coronavirus testing not working as it should be, claims top health official. Everyone I'm seeing is a top health official. Buy American, White House confirms executive order that will end medical supply chain reliance on China. Scenes from 2020. While Charles Barkley self-quarantines, Ernie Johnson throws to Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Why wait? Inbox. Roseanne Barr has endorsed Laura Loomer for Congress and promised to campaign with her in Palm Beach after the coronavirus outbreak has passed. What if it never passes? What if this is just the rest of our lives? What if we all have the flu forever? Oh, it's this chick. Look, I'm really good looking and I can't speak English, but I love Bernie. Anime! Give me views because I'm attractive. How fucked would it be if all the old people turned out for the election, voted Trump back in the office, died of coronavirus a week later due to exposure in the voting lines, and left us with their preferred candidate? The ultimate boomer prank. I don't like anything about this woman. She sounds like what she looks like. Like I can already tell exactly what this woman sounds like. I'm not worried about corona. I'm worried about not having anything to wipe my ass with because you dumb bitches are buying out toilet paper as if this going to help you anyway. Honestly, I always think it's good to have a stockpile of toilet paper. I think we've all had that moment where you're in the bathroom and you realize you didn't put new toilet paper in and you kind of have to do that squat to the fucking closet to get a new roll of toilet paper. But if you had more toilet paper, you would already have some in there, like under the sink, so you never had to do that. It's like having a backup of ammunition if you're in a shootout. If you're in a shitout, you need a backup toilet paper. This ain't a John Woo movie where you just have unlimited supply. So, plus you can blow your nose with toilet paper. I mean, there's all sorts of use for toilet paper. Very useful item. The Simpsons predicted everything. Yeah, I remember World War III like a few months ago that was going to happen. What great American directors? What you mean, like an animation director? I hope you're following Ian Michael Strong and Blair White. Ironically, I didn't even know I was following them, to be honest. I had no idea I was following Blair White or Ian. I haven't watched a Blair White video or followed anything she's done in years. And same thing with Ian Michaels. I don't even remember. I think I followed them both years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I really can't remember the last time I watched a Blair White video. Like 2016, I mean, I tuned out of the Blair White stuff a long time ago. I used to watch her early stuff. When she was talking about trans stuff, but that was the last time I watched anything. Any director doing an anime? Uh I mean, I don't know. I guess Tarantino. I mean, if you're not an animation director, I think it would be hard to just transition into making an anime. Seems a little odd. This is gonna turn into that movie A Quiet Place. We're all living on the farm with like the red lights and everything. Morning, what have I missed? Oh, Cordry, thank you for getting Tom Hanks infected, you fuck. You put him down under. I know it was you. I know you were on the set of that Baz Luhrmann Elvis movie, and I know that you got him sick, and Rita Wilson. You think I don't know, but I have proof. You were a production assistant on that movie, weren't you, you sick fuck? And you went up to Tom Hanks, didn't you? You were like, oh, hi, Tom Hanks. My name's Cordry. I make YouTube videos. It sounds British. Oh, hi, you want to get out of here? Talk to me. And then you went up to him, and he was like, oh, hi, I'm Tom Hanks. And then you shook his hand right there. Corona. You're like shaking his hand, and you're like, I love the baseball part in the movie. We say there's no crying in baseball. That was great. And he's like, thanks a lot. Yeah. I love it. Man, long story short, through mutual friends, that cunt's gonna get my whole house sick. Are you kidding me? You're connected through Tom Hanks now? This is gonna be your downfall. Just do the Bill Hader Ozzy impression from Barry. Jesus. So is Tom Hanks like quarantined at your house? Are you asking him secret questions like, what were the chocolates in the box? And, like in Pulp Fiction, what was in the briefcase? Like, what chocolates were in the box in Forrest Gump? And he's like, it actually wasn't chocolate. Giving you that insider talk. So what, you had like a friend on the set of that movie working on it? Because I'm assuming that Baz Luhrmann hired local people to work on movies, because a lot of the time when you film movies in a country or area, you have to use local crews. This is very typical if you shoot in other, like in Canada, you have to use Canadian crews. So I'm assuming Baz Luhrmann was using Australian crews, so you might have had a friend who was working on the movie and everybody got sick on set. What YouTuber would you want to meet on EFAP? Like, who's regularly on EFAP or just randomly? Because Mahler's really the only one in the EFAP group I would like to meet. Um, yeah. Yeah, do you ask him how he looks? Does he look like Philadelphia Tom Hanks right now? Oh my god. No, I've not seen that. My housemate is working on a TV show, which was crew that was working on Elvis, because it's actually filming near me. I figured it was filming. God damn that Baz Luhrmann. He just can't fucking help himself, can he? I like high top films. By the way, before I forget, there are 2 Lupin the Third series. Aren't there 3 Lupin the Third series? Didn't they do a new one a few years ago? And Elvis had to be shut down due to the floods that followed the bushfires, and now it's shut down due to Mama Coronavirus. Why the fuck would anyone shoot in Australia right now? Is there like a tax reason for that? Like, isn't Australia on fire? Why would you shoot the Elvis movie in Australia? You could shoot that in like Shreveport. You could shoot that in like Pittsburgh. Like, why? Every frame a pause. It's a podcast on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's the 2 Lupin series from the 70s, and then there was a new Lupin show, and then there's the movies. But I'm pretty sure they did a new series like 3 or 4 years ago? Cuz cheap, cuz Baz. Fucking Baz Luhrmann. Even though, I must say I'm a fan of Romeo plus Juliet and of Moulin Rouge, but and Simply Ballroom, which is I think a better version of Dirty Dancing, but I have not liked a Baz Luhrmann film since. I have not watched the new CG Lupin the Third trailer, but I am a big fan of Lupin. In particular, that series, the one where he has the red jacket, not the green one. That show I'm a really big fan of. And I like Castle of Cagliostro, even though Lupin really doesn't seem like Lupin in that movie, but that's like a Spielberg-esque movie. It's not really Lupin the Third movie, but I prefer the one series. But they're both good. I mean, to me, it just looks like the Democratic Party's like dead. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I mean, tell me I'm wrong when it happens. From what I could tell, it just seems like their party's in a really bad spot. Well, Cowboy Bebop was so influenced by Lupin the Third, though, especially aesthetically. Like for the animation and the character designs are straight up like they look like Monkey Punch. I mean, Spike Spiegel is like, I mean, the way he fights it, it's very Lupin. The way the legs are drawn and shit. I mean, the character designs are so similar, and the whole like theme of like shitty criminals having to work together. You know, although I guess they're not really criminals in Cowboy Bebop Bounty Hunters, but you know they are like scummy people. You know. Yeah, I really like the first few Baz Luhrmann movies, but I get not liking them for sure. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, but Firefly, I mean, Outlaw Star is also. I mean, it's not like that idea was original, like a group of space, you know, like space cowboys or space pirates or bounty hunters on a spaceship, like going around. You know, that's been around. Yeah, I like Cagliostro too. I think it's great. Great movie. I've never got why they never did like in America at least. I mean, like live action Lupin the Third movie. You could make like a great movie trilogy out of that. It's like James Bond meets Indiana Jones. Uh, you could have stuff that's very old school James Bond, and then they find treasures and stuff like that. I like Moulin Rouge. The first 15 minutes is pretty hard to set through. The editing is kind of fucking crazy. Because game journalists are the biggest hacks in journalism that have ever existed, except maybe music journalists. But I think once Moulin Rouge slows down a little bit, after that first 20 minutes, it gets really good. I like parts of The Great Gatsby he made, but all the super fast editing in the party scenes, it's like, what the fuck is this, dude? The stuff where it's actually more like the book are actually pretty good scenes, although I'm not a big fan of the book either. I think that's a really overrated book. Was it Nathan Fillion? Did he punch you? Pat, what century would you want to be born in? The 21st century, because I like having the fucking internet and science, medical science evolved to where I don't fucking die from shit like the fucking flu, um, or cold, and yeah, I like having knowledge, and I like having any TV show or movie I want to watch, I can fucking watch. And women are treated. I can't just like treat women like shit and beat them or rape them. They have rights, you know. I like the 21st century quite a bit. I must say. I think it's probably the best time to live in, and nobody wants to like. We live in the best time to ever be alive, by far. Unless you have some like aesthetic fetish for the 60s or 70s. So if you want to be born in like you know the 20th century at a certain time, and you know if or you think of that movie Somewhere in Time, where Chris Reeve goes back. I don't even know when he goes back, but he goes back to like a different period, and he falls in love with Jane Seymour, and it's like really nice, or like something like Midnight. But Midnight in Paris is kind of about that. You go back and you think some other time's better than the time you live in now. And then you realize that everybody thought that back then. So you're nothing seems great until 20 years later. You're never really nostalgic for anything until later. So you have this nostalgia for some time you didn't live in, but then you go back to live in, and it's not what you think it is. You've just created a fantasy of what it is. So I think the best time to be alive is the time that you're living in when you're in it. You have to make the time you're living in great. The funniest YouTube video I ever watched is called Journey of the Dead. It's from about 12 years ago. It's a guy dressed up as Steve Perry, and he fights Freddie Mercury and dead members, dead drummers from bands like Zombies. What if I was huffing on... Oh, dying. I guess we won't Pokemon go to a large gatherings for a while. Was anyone even still playing that game? I think that trend already died a couple years ago, bro. A recent Yale study shows that Medicare for All would save 68,000 lives a year and $450 billion annually. Harvard scientists analyzed the 6.8 million tweet says Bernie bro a myth. Well, I've met them in real life, so I don't know how it's a myth. They exist. It's real. It's true. All of it. With coronavirus-related school closures looming, federal lawmakers have proposed a bill that includes help for families that are struggling to feed their kids while at home. And I feel bad for all the parents who still have to go to work and they gotta, like, their kids are at home and they're like, God damn it. Or they gotta take care of that kid that they secretly like going to school because they hate that kid. Oh my god. So let's summarize, okay? Let's get to the end of this. I was going to take a nice trip away to see my mother down south. Pretty much seems like it's canceled. I canceled a hotel I was going to stay at in Nashville on my way down there. Every event that I know that my friends were going to or anyone I know is going to, it's all canceled. I even had my bags packed. I've been sick for a week. I haven't been able to work all week, so I'm making no money. So I'm sick, not making any money. Everything's canceled. And I'll probably never get a chance at another fun vacation for at least 6 months. And I haven't been able to keep up with my YouTube schedule. And overall, things have been pretty miserable. But the only thing that I take solace in is that it seems like everyone else, to some degree or another, is suffering like me. So, yeah, I've been canceled. We've all been canceled. And I guess this has been coming a long time, and maybe it's a good thing. Maybe we should all be canceled anyway. Maybe it's a better world if we didn't have a Disneyland, and maybe if people weren't so fucking obsessed with basketball and concerts and not caring about sanitation and their health and washing their hands and being clean. And maybe we did become too much of a global trade world. Maybe we did rely too much on other places for resources. Who knows? Who knows? But we're in this together. The Final Fantasy VII Remake looks fine. Cartoon character ever? I don't know. Fucking Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Great Gatsby would be a fantastic anime. Yeah, but yeah, maybe we didn't need this shit to begin with. Maybe we needed a fucking plague to get canceled. Maybe we needed our seventh seal. Maybe I need to be playing chess with death as I have an existential crisis about what it means to be human. And as I'm here with my fever and my cough and my runny nose and all of these bad feelings, when you get close to the edge of losing everything and just disappointment, not getting to take that trip that you wanted to take, not having as much money in your bank account as you wish to have, being sick, having a fear of getting more sick, knowing that everyone's divided. You know what? It makes being alive and doing the struggle seem rather shitty and pointless, but I think if we all get through this and come out the other side, and we get through the panic and everything being canceled, I think we'll all come out happier. I think we'll all come out loving each other more. And I think we'll all appreciate living in a way that we haven't for a long time. Or we're all just going to become PC gamers, which is already where the future was going anyway. Bring on the VR revolution. Bring on the VR revolution, please. Transhumanism. That's what we need. Do androids dream of electric sheep? Or do electric sheep dream of me? Am I the dreamer? Who's the dreamer? We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams. Yeah, life is pointless. Life is sort of meaningless, but, you know, you have to find meaning in it to make it worthwhile. But if we get through this, guys, I'll keep making videos. I'll feel better eventually. And we can start a new show. Maybe this life being canceled, we can get a reboot. Everybody's into reboots now. Why can't we reboot this? Let's reboot America. Why not? You know? Alright, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much. Reboot the universe. It's not a bad idea. Thank you for your wishes. Thank you, my dear children. Thank you so much. It means everything. Oh my goodness, I love you too. Get better, bro. Fantastic. Tell Tom Hanks I said hi. Oh, tell Tom Hanks also I said that he needs to try a little bit harder. He's been phoning it in for a while. It's the end of the world as we know.